What is up, guys? It's Alex the Magician here, back for another Heroes 3 tier list video, and in this one we are going to be ranking tier 1 unit upgrades, and I'm going to talk about what the upgrades do and whether or not they are a good idea to actually get those upgrades in a real game situation. So, of course, this is my opinion based on my experience, but do let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if you agree or disagree and why, if you would rank something differently. Alright, so let's just go ahead and get into this. At the very bottom, I'm going to rank Halberdiers. So Halberdiers, the upgrade increases their attack by 2, their speed by 1, and their minimal damage by 1. So the pikemen have a damage spread from 1 to 3, the halberdiers from 2 to 3. Now, the problem with this upgrade, well, there's two problems. One is that you're usually not going to have large enough numbers of pikemen to really make a difference and really make this upgrade worth it, because Castle just really starts with a tiny number of meat. Especially the day 1, or I mean the tier 1 units, you usually will have somewhere around 30 of them. And you're usually relying on marksmen anyway in the early game, and these guys are really just going to be meat for hives maybe, or just one stacks, in crypts and churchyards and against, taking portals of glory and whatnot. Or you're also going to be using them to tank in fights where difficult fights where you need to protect your marksman, and you use these kind of as a meat shield. So the thing is that the regular pikemen will do just as well in that as the halberdiers, because their health and their defense is exactly the same. These guys will just deal a little bit more damage back, but like I said before, their numbers are usually not going to be significant enough for that damage to be significant. So really, you usually don't get these. I've never really seen anybody in a PvP situation get these, and to warrant wasting an entire day for a build, for an upgrade that's this mediocre, is really, really questionable, because, like I said, you usually rely on the marksman, and also as Castle, you try to build angels or at least cavaliers, so you really don't want to waste a day building something like this. So the only way I could see that be potentially justified is if you find a box of halberdiers, and then you just want to consolidate your stack, with pikemen from external dwellings or from your, just day 1 meat, and you don't want to have two awkward stacks, and you want to consolidate that into one halberdier stack for like doing hives or something like that, and to have a little bit more damage potential, then maybe, but still questionable to waste a day doing that. Okay, next I'm going to rank the sprites. So the sprite upgrade is pretty good. The upgrade itself increases their maximum damage from 2 to 3. It also increases their speed from 7 to 9. And it gives them the no retaliation ability, which is great. However, the problem with these is that in Horn of the Abyss, they're really, really difficult to build. You need to have the Mage Guild and the Magic University to actually get the upgrade. So the earliest you can possibly get it is on day 3, which usually means that's too late for it to really make a difference. So usually what these end up being utilized for is just fast 1 stacks. If you do get the Magic University anyway, you're like, well, now I'm not building anything, I might as well get this so that my scouts are faster, right? And, so that I can burn things better with Luna as well. So while the upgrade is good, while it has a lot of potential, people do, you could potentially abuse them because of their no retaliation ability, and people used to do that, and that's kind of why they nerfed the upgrade. But now the nerf is a little bit too much, and really you don't go for the upgrade that often, especially, definitely not for them to actually help you in fights. You usually just do it for the quicker 1 stacks. Okay, next I am going to rank the Null Marauder upgrade and the Skeleton Warrior upgrade. Now, these upgrades are decent, but the reason that I have them kind of low here on D tier is because they're really not essential. So let's talk about the nulls first. All right, so the null upgrade increases attack and defense by 1, and it also increases their movement speed by 1. Now, the thing is, you usually don't need it. So with Dracon, speed 5 or 6 on Swamp is enough on the regular nulls to do crypts and to do most fights in the early game. Usually, as Fortress, you want to be trying to take hives, and nulls are going to be meat for hives anyway, so to upgrade them just to lose them in the hives anyway is a little bit of a waste. It's a little bit of a waste in, in terms of actually using a day to build something that is not going to be that useful later on. The only reason to, the only good reason to get this upgrade is if you need to do some fights where you really need that speed advantage for. So, for example, going for a Hydra Pond. Then it is pretty essential because then you outspeed the Hydras and you can do the Hydra Pond without any losses by striking, retreating, utilizing 1 stacks to bait the Hydras back and then doing that again. And, usually you just lose 1 stacks when taking the Hydra Pond. Or if you're doing some kind of a difficult fight, like, for example, vampires who have speed 6, and you really don't want to take any hits on your null power stack because, they have that no retaliation ability, or something else like potentially fighting Gorgons or, just something that you really would like to at least match speed with, or better yet, outspeed, then you might want to get these. But I would say the Hydra Pond is probably the most common use case scenario for actually upgrading these. But in other cases, it is kind of questionable. In a lot of cases, you want to go for a Serpent Fly Hive right away with Fortress, and then, to get faster 1 stacks, and then after that, you want to try to get Wyvern, and then maybe Wyvern Monarchs, then Mage Guild, etc. So in many cases, you may be skipping this upgrade. All right, and as far as Skeleton Warriors go, also a optional upgrade. It is pretty good, and the reason that it's good is actually not necessarily the increase in stats, although the increase is pretty good. It increases their attack by 1, and defense by 2, and speed by 1. But the real kicker with the upgrade is also the additional bonuses that Galthran gives them, because Galthran's specialty scales better for Skeleton Warriors than it does for skeletons, regular skeletons. So if you really need the additional attack and defense, like I'm not 100% sure about these numbers, but I've checked before. I think around level 10, you would have like 1 more attack and 2 more defense or something like that on top of the additional attack and defense that the upgrade already gives you if you're using Galthran. So it will help you in cases where you really, really need that stat boost, because sometimes you are going to be doing fights that are going to be difficult. Like, let's say you got to do a difficult break without a whole lot of spell power or knowledge to use animate. So that stat increase is going to be really important. Now, usually in the early game you don't need it because day 1 you're building a skeleton transformer, and you can utilize the regular skeletons with Galthran to take crypts and churchyards and do most fights. The reason for upgrading these in the early game would be to do crypts on side heroes, to do consas on side heroes, etc. Potentially to do fights that you really need to outspeed whatever you're fighting, or at least match speed, but not as common. But the biggest problem with the upgrade is the fact that you're going to be necroing up more skeletons, right? So you are going to have 2 different stacks. If you do upgrade these, you're going to have the stack of Skeleton Warriors and a stack of regular skeletons. So for in a lot of cases, even if you do upgrade these during the game, at some point you're going to be downgrading these so that you can enter the desert on regular skeletons, so that when you necro up additional skeletons in the desert, your skeleton stack grows rather than just being an awkward, skeleton warrior and regular skeleton stack where the regular skeletons end up just being trash and just end up dying. So usually that's the biggest reason why you don't go for the upgrade, so really not essential. Sometimes you do get it. Like I said, the stat increase and the speed increase is good, but yeah, because of the unconsolidated stack of skeletons, you usually opt to downgrade them at some point and maybe upgrade them before the final battle or something like that. Okay, next we are going to rank the familiars and the hobgoblins. So both of these are pretty decent. The familiars increase the attack and defense, attack by 2, defense by 1, and speed by 2. So pretty good upgrade. Mostly you want these as the you want the speed increase, and you usually only go for the upgrade when you're starting as Ignatus. If you're playing as Koth, you usually go for the Magog upgrades. But if you're starting as Ignatus, it is definitely the upgrade that you're going to get on day 1. And it does allow you more kiting potential. It does allow you to do pickets, for example, so you can do pickets as Ignatus on upgraded familiars. The problem, of course, with these, the same as with the hobgoblins, is that they're squishy, and the imps are really, really squishy. So you really don't want to be taking hits on these, but that's all the more reason to get this upgrade, because with speed 8 or speed 9, if you have Ignatus on Inferno terrain, these are going to have much more potential to actually run away, kite, and, hopefully not take any hits. All right, and the hobgoblins, it is a standard build on day 1 for Stronghold. While the upgrade is not 100% essential, because a lot of times you're relying on Wolf Raiders, but the Wolf Raider upgrade requires the Hobgoblin upgrade. So you get this on day 1 as Stronghold in pretty much 100% of cases. It increases their movement speed by 2 as well. It increases their attack and defense by 1. So overall, mostly the speed is what makes the upgrade pretty good. If you're starting as Gretchen, you can do pickets with them because they will have speed 9 on Gretchen and the Stronghold terrain. So that does allow you to do pickets as well. And, just in general also gives you more kiting potential, just makes them better. But once again, kind of similar to the familiars, they are a really squishy power stack. So you really don't want to be taking hits on them. Once again, this is why the speed upgrade is pretty important, because that allows you to kind of run away and not take any hits, hopefully. But yeah, pretty much an essential thing to get. Maybe, not the most reliable. It's not necessarily something you're relying on, but it does make your scouts faster. You're going to use these as one stacks. And of course, if you're using Gretchen, it does make your power stack better. And, almost 100% of cases, you will be getting the Hobgoblin upgrade with Stronghold. Okay, next we are going to rank the Centaur Captains and the Troglodytes. So let's talk about the Centaur Captains. Centaur Captains are kind of situational. You don't get these in 100% of cases. So usually you get these when you are not playing as Ivor, because Ivor is going to be relying on Grand Elves, and you want to try to get your Grand Elf upgrade as quickly as possible, right? So turn 2, if you don't get the Centaur upgrade, you can get the Grand Elves. If you're starting as somebody else, like Mephala, for example, you would be more likely to get these. So they are good. They increase the speed by 2, increases their health by 2 as well, and increases their attack by 1. So it is a solid upgrade overall. It gives you fast 1 stacks. It gives you, Centaur upgrade is something you do want to get when you're doing pickets, if you're doing them on just Grand Elves and Centaurs, because then they will outspeed the Wolf Raiders. So just overall, pretty good. They're not the best kiting one stacks as they're 2 hex units, so 2 hex units can be a little bit awkward to maneuver, and sometimes they can even get stuck on your end. There was actually a video, I think it was Voodoosh, where he had a ballista and his centaurs with the ballista and the terrain got stuck, and he wasn't able to take a unicorn dwelling because he wasn't able to block his grand elves. It was pretty funny. He was freaking out over that. But overall, a good upgrade. But the problem with it is that if you do get it, you're not, if you don't have a hill fort, of course, you're not going to be able to get the dragons. And, sometimes you want to go for dragons as rampart. And if you do decide to go for dragons, you have to right away skip the centaur upgrade. And then you also skip the grand elf upgrade. But that is not that common. Many people do just go straight away for the Centaur upgrade on day one, which certainly has merit since it gives your scouts more speed. It also gives you faster and stronger one stacks, power stack in the early game. And especially if you're going for somebody like Mafala, I can definitely see the Centaur upgrade working on day one. But, like I said, since in a lot of cases you are playing as Ivor and you want to go for that Grand Elf upgrade, and maybe you also want to build dragons, I would say, the upgrade is something that's probably utilized in about 50% of cases, maybe a little bit less than that. So it's not an essential thing, but it is a good one. All right, and as far as troglodytes go, usually essential on day one. You pretty much build troglodytes, the upgraded troglodytes on day one in most cases. The only way I would not build upgraded troglodytes is, well, for one, if I somehow don't have the money, or for two, if I just don't see any fights for me to do on day one with Shakti that I would need upgraded troglodytes for, then I might opt to go for the Battle Scholar Academy instead. But I don't really like that build that much because usually you will not get the Battle Scholar Academy right away, so some of the heroes that you've already sent out to scout will not get that benefit of the 1,000 extra experience. So most cases you do get this upgrade. The biggest thing about the upgrade is the speed increase. So it does also increase their attack and defense and health by 1 and the speed by 1, and that's usually what you really want because the speed increase allows you to do crypts on Shakti. It allows you to do churchyards on Shakti without really losing anything. I really would not recommend doing crypts on speed 4 troglodytes because the problem with dungeon is the fact that you are on dirt terrain, so undead will get movement advantage, but you don't, so you do not get the +1 movement on that dirt terrain. So for that reason, this upgrade is usually going to be essential. It's going to help you do a lot of fights in the early game, and like I said, doing crypts, doing churchyards without really losing anything. So definitely an upgrade that you go for, I would say, in 95% of cases as dungeon. Okay, next I'm going to rank Oceanids. So another upgrade that is pretty much essential. It increases the movement speed of the Oceanids from the nymphs by 2, which is also the biggest thing. It makes them much more maneuverable because this stack is something that is really, really squishy. You really don't want to take any hits on it. And, when you're relying on that as your day one power stack, you want to be good at maneuvering them. You want to be, taking retaliation with 1 stacks and then utilizing the power stack to do as much damage as possible and not get hit, So for that reason, the speed upgrade is really good. They also get +1 attack, and their maximum damage increases by 1, which is good, because that allows you to, utilize Bless. Bless, the Oceanids are a really good target for Bless. And, overall also gives your scouts better movement speed. So usually you go for this upgrade on day 1 as Cove if you're starting as Cassiopeia. All right, and the top tier upgrade is going to be the Master Gremlin. So increase the attack and defense by 1 and the movement speed by 1 as well. But the biggest thing is the fact that they become ranged units, whereas the regular gremlins are melee units. So the gremlins are really weak, and basically they go from being trash tier to being your kind of reliable day one power stack as tower. You go for the upgrade in many cases. For me personally, when I played tower, I either build the lookout tower or the gremlin upgrade on day one. So what I usually do is I scout the map, and then I take a look whether I need the gremlin upgrade for any fights on day one, and if I don't, then I can go for the lookout tower. And also, if I see that the map is kind of mediocre and I might take a restart anyway, then I can also go for the lookout tower to see maybe I can get some more scouting information that will reveal something that will kind of sway me to actually keep the map. But in either case, even if you do get the lookout tower, you will still be going for the gremlin upgrade on turn 2 anyway. So very much an essential upgrade for a tower. It is basically what you rely on in the early game. Alright guys, well, that is it for this tier list. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Do let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if you agree or disagree with anything and why. And on that note, I will end the video. So thanks once again for watching, and check out my Twitch stream, link in the description below, if you want to see more English-speaking Heroes 3 content. And I will see you guys soon. Peace out.